All right, guys, next on the agenda is inverses. All right, so when we're looking at function notation, the inverse is, this is what it looks like. And we read that as the inverse of f of x. It's got a little -1 right here. That's f to the -1 power. That's the inverse. To find them, it's not that bad. So all you got to do is rewrite f of x as y. So it's probably going to be in function notation. Rewrite it as y. Then you swap x and y and put. So every x is going to become a y. There's only one y is going to become x. Yeah, it's only one y. Should only be one y. You might have more than one x. So make sure you replace every single x with a y and every single y with an x. And you solve for y, the new y. Now, in order for a function to have an inverse, it's got to be an inverse function. It's got to be 1-to-1. Well, what does that mean? Let's think about what it means to be a function. For every x value, there's only one y value. That's what a function means. Let's swap the x and the y, right? We're inversing. For every y value, there has to be one x value. So if we think about this, that means we can't have a parabola because that's not 1-to-1. For if we just have the basic equation x squared, well, 3 squared is 9, and -3 squared is 9. Well, that's two y values, or that's one y value with two different x values. That's not 1-to-1. So if we're looking at a parabola, we gotta look at half of it. Otherwise, it is not 1-to-1. And we will be specifying intervals of domain and range that we're looking at. So let's just look real quick. What's the inverse of this? How do we find an inverse? You swap x and y. Swap x and y, come on now. -2, 1, 4, 2. I mean, these are just ordered pairs, right? -1, 3. And -2, 4. That's not a 4. Is R a function? Well, let's see. To be a function, for every x value, there must be one y value. So none of the x values are repeating, so we're good. Yes. Is our inverse a function? Let's see, -2, 4, -1, -2. Uh-oh. No. See right here, we got -2 mapping to 1, we got -2 mapping to 4. Ain't happening. So no is not 1-to-1 because we got some y values repeating here. All right, I guess I can flip. Let's check this guy out. Oh, this ain't even a function. Look at that. Starts off as a no. Let's write out the R inverse. Let's see, it might be a function. It doesn't matter what R is. It's a function or not. That's, no. So 5, 1, 6, 1. -4, 3. And and 9 comma 4. Is this thing a function? Sure it is. Is it 1-to-1? Nah. It's not 1-to-1 because it's not a function. In order to be 1-to-1, it must be a function first off, and it's not. Let's look at this. Okay, so for every y value, there must be one x value. This y value got 0 x values. This y value got 2 x values. So this ain't 1-to-1. Is this a function though? Yeah, sure it is. Yeah. No, it's not. Because that guy's not mapping anything. That's not even a function. This is nothing. Straight nose. This x value maps to nothing. That y value gets mapped to nothing. So it's not happening. The inverse, you just swap around. X. I'm not gonna write that out. So if we're looking at whether or not a graph is 1-to-1, we can use a horizontal line test. We use a vertical line test to see if it's a function, horizontal line test to see if it's 1-to-1. So let's see, got a horizontal line here. That one's good. Because no matter where I put this thing, it's only going through once. It ain't touching anybody else. So we're good. We're good. Over here, not happening. It fails. This is not 1-to-1. This one is 1-to-1. Yes. No. I already have. Okay. Remember, it's f inverse of x. Real quick, let's just do a few. So step 1, put it as y. Step 2, swap them. Step 3, solve for y. Solve, so f inverse of x is x over 5. Over here, do the same thing. My inverse. Okay, try some more. This is not bad, guys. It's really not. Replace f of x with y. Swap x's and y's. Solve for y. There's my inverse. So what I did here is I multiplied by 3. I got 3x. And I had to add 8 to both sides. And there we go. All right. Y. Swap it. Subtract 1. So now you can either multiply 3 by 5 and then divide by -2, or multiply both sides by -5 halves, your choice. To get rid of this, we divide by -2/5 or multiply by the reciprocal. Don't multiply by the reciprocal. I said reciprocal. So The 5s will cancel, the 2s will cancel. That's what we need to do. That's going to be -5 halves x plus 5 halves. Let's get that a little bit. Put it over here. The negatives cancel. The 5s cancel. The 2s cancel. We're left with y. This is f inverse. So the inverse of f of x is this. Okay. So here we go. We're looking x is greater than or equal to 0. So that's the parabola, but only the right half. So we can do it. It's 1 to 1. Now, usually when we take a square root, we can do plus or minus, right? But look at our domain here. We got to be positive. So whenever I take the square root of both sides, I'm only looking at that positive square root for this case. If it was the other way around, I'd be looking at the negative square root. So f inverse is the square root of x plus 9. Okay, here, swap, solve it. Now this is a cube root, it's an odd index, so we're not going to do plus or minus ever. It's just a cube root. And we're going to subtract 4 from that. The cube root of x plus 6 minus 4 on the outside of your radical. All right. So the process, not too terrible. Now, how do we know if they're inverse without actually calculating the inverse? Composition of functions. If f of f inverse x, oh, well, it says f and g, so let me use that. So we got two functions, f and g. We can know if they're inverses by saying f of g of x, plug it in, and that's x, and g of f of x is x. If they both come out to be x when you compose them, they're inverses. Simple as that. So again, we're looking at the positive half of the parabola here. So let's compose them. That's f of g. So I'm going to shove this guy into this guy. Square root of x minus 8 squared plus 8. Let's see what happens. X minus 8 plus 8. Yep, that's an x. Let's check g of f. Taking this thing, shoving up in here. Square root of x squared plus 8. That's x minus 8. Square root of x squared is x. It works. And we'll just verify this one and call it a day. Negative, yeah, like this. F of G, we'll do that one first. We're gonna take G and shove it down F's road. Yeah, don't mean to think, whatever. We're gonna stick this in there. X minus over 4 minus 5 plus 5. I don't know about this one. It's because I wrote it wrong. Be careful with your parentheses, peoples. I didn't write it wrong, did I? No, I didn't. So yeah, this is X. This is X. Negative 4, this thing, plus 5. What happens? We get negative X plus 20. Yeah, it's not X. Not inverses. So this did not work out. Okay, so that's what you do. Easy as that, guys. Not too terrible. See you next time.